churches are funny places. We gather on Sunday mornings to worship, and we come from our day-to-day of life. Some of us come early and sit and drink coffee and have cookies with folk. Others come late. You're running in from your morning, whatever you were up to before, you're running in 10 minutes late into worship. And as I often tell you when you walk through the doors, you're not late, you're here. It's all good. There are all sorts of dynamics at play too. If you have kids, you're wrangling the kids. Or maybe you're trying to catch up with a friend who sat all the way across the sanctuary. There's all sorts of stuff going on a Sunday morning. Sometimes, even when I preach, I'll look out and see dynamics at play in the pews. Someone, nudging on their partner, maybe to wake them up because they're falling asleep, or maybe to kind of go, listen to what the preacher's saying. There'll be something there for you. The distractions that are there too. But one of the moments that are the hardest to observe is when the offering plates are passed. During the pandemic period, folks would kind of give their offering on their way out, and you drop it in the plate. That still seemed a little weird, didn't it? It seemed like something that was so personal to do, and all of a sudden it was so public. So there was a bit of a resistance to that. But even now, as we're passing the plates, I try to just think about the beauty of worship, looking out into the sanctuary, not at anyone in particular, because I don't want anyone thinking that I'm looking at them. I mean, money is so personal in our lives today, isn't it? Money, we feel a bit embarrassed about our giving patterns or non-giving. You get my drift. It is personal, it is private, and yet, is it? In today's text, we have a story of two people. One, a person that was of means, a person not just of means in terms of financial resources, yes, for sure that, but also in terms of status and power in the community, a Pharisee, well-dressed, came to church ready to be seen and to connect and to network and to do the things that people in those positions do. And then there was a widow, a poor one, a very poor one. She had so little, living barely. She too comes. Both people showing up on Sunday morning from different places. And Jesus is telling us he sees them, he observes them. In this story, he's telling us. She gives all she has. She gives joyously out of her scarcity. The Pharisee gives, very openly and with a little bit of flair, out of the much, out of the abundance. And Jesus has something to tell us about this encounter. He tells us that the one that gave the most was not the Pharisee who had literally given the most in terms of actual, monetary value. He given the most. He says, no, you're counting wrong. It is the widow who gave the most, because she gave out of the scarcity. Got me thinking about scarcity and abundance and God's math. It also got me a bit worried because sometimes I find in my own life that I would love to give more to help the world be better, more just. I would love to sacrifice more. But most of the time, if I'm honest with myself, I am giving out of my abundance. I'm not giving out of my scarcity. And just the idea of giving out of my scarcity scares me because I don't want scarcity. I want to have enough. I want to raise my family, and I want to provide for them, and I want to give them a certain way of life, and I want to have the security that comes with it, and I also, to be honest, want some of the luxuries that come with it, and the privileges that come with it, and now I wouldn't show off at church about it for sure, but so this word messes with me a lot. But then I think of the needs all around me, and I think of the ways that others might give, and I realize that so many of us, that's the case. We are giving out of our abundance. And so often, our fear, this is what's interesting, our fear is actually based upon scarcity thinking. We give out our abundance because we like to hoard. We like to think that resources are limited, and not just financial resources, certainly those, but not just financial resources, but all the other things are limited. Love might be limited. Grace might be limited. Power might be limited. Position might be limited. Status is limited. All these things are limited, and so because they're limited, we need to hoard them and keep them, and because we're afraid if we lose them, then we're not going to be in the place we want to be. And this woman gave of the nothing she had. She recognized that somehow in God's kingdom, in God's math, there is enough. There is enough. There is enough grace. There is enough love. There is enough imagination and possibility. There are enough financial resources, actually, if we allow for the Spirit of the living God to transform us and shake us from our fear of scarcity and our hoarding tendencies that are part of what it means to be human. And we begin to be freed. No wonder Jesus tells us that blessed are the poor, because it is among the poor that if we come alongside them in solidarity, we learn from them that there's a sense deep within them that there is enough. Of the little, if you share, there is enough. There is always enough. So there's a need for us to change our hearts and lives, for sure. But by the power of the Spirit, we can. By the power of the Spirit, if we allow Jesus to speak deep to those fears, we actually can find ourselves beginning to let go. And then together, you bring your little and I bring my little grace and my little gift sets and my little financial resources and my little power and my little networking and my little political leverage. And we together bring our little, and all of a sudden, as we share it and give it to one another, something amazing happens. There's abundance beyond our wildest imaginations. Today I'm wondering if we're allowing our fear of not enough guide us. It's guided me way too many times. And whether it's time for me to open my eyes and come together with you in this moment, and we bringing out of our abundance to gather, to make a difference for those like that widow who seemed to have nothing, in actual ways. So in the days ahead, may we together look deep within our hearts and minds and bank accounts, yes, but also our connections and our networks and our business arrangements and in our relationships. And we look around and we begin to be convicted that not to hoard all the things, but to begin to share all the things together, to let go of them with abandon. And there's no telling what we might be able to do. A holy imagination for abundance, for you, for me, for the world, for our neighbors. A holy imagination for the kind of kingdom that takes the little, blesses it, and shares it. And together, amazing things can happen. Let us not be hopeless about scarcity, fearful about not having. Instead, a holy imagination for the abundance of God's kingdom right here on earth as it is in heaven. Thanks be to God. Amen.